We wanted to give you a taste of Christmas from Europe. Our reporter Polina Garayev has this report from Berlin.
Well, Christmas markets exist right now everywhere in Europe, but the tradition was actually born right here in Germany, dating back to the 14th century. Hundreds of Christmas markets are open right now all across the country, 70 in Berlin alone, but this is probably one of the most special ones. This medieval Christmas market allows visitors to dress up as knights and princesses and try their hand at archery and axe throwing. Woodcarvers and blacksmiths are showing here their craft alongside huts serving traditional food, mulled wine and hot mead.
Well, I just think that Christmas, or the time before Christmas, is a really nice time to spend the winter and to come together and to eat nice things and to spend times with friends and family, or just hang out and to make a very uncomfortable, cold time a little bit nicer.
I just think Christmas markets are a really good opportunity to get out of the house when it's really it's very dark, the days are very short. It brings some light into your day, enjoy some good food, enjoy some time with your loved ones.
I genuinely like eating all of these different foods and watching other people celebrate the holiday and being with my friends.
This Christmas market and most others will shut down in the coming days, so Berliners are motivated to come and have one last taste of mulled wine. But considering how beloved this tradition is in Germany, you can be sure it will return the next holiday season. Polina Garayev, I24 News, Berlin.
Joining me now to talk more about Christmas and specifically the place of Bethlehem in the holiday is Father David Neuhouse. He's a former vicar of the Latin Patriarch. Let's talk about the meaning of Christmas because, you know, for many in the world it looks so commercialized now. And we have to kind of peel off the layers to get to the spiritual message of Christmas in this modern day. What is it for you?
So maybe a little comment before we get to the meaning, and I promise to get to the meaning, and we don't have to deal with the peeling away because Christmas being celebrated in a place where we are such a small group among Jews and among Muslims, we have the real thing. We don't have a lot of commercial surroundings around Christmas to peel away. So I think that when it comes to the meaning of Christmas, I think we all focus on something very, very important, and that is God's faithfulness. In the midst of the darkness, and of course, yes, in this part of the world it's winter, but we look around at the world and it's a pretty gloomy, dark, sad place. In the midst of that, God brings into the world the light of the world. And that, of course, for us is Jesus, this small infant that is born in very precarious circumstances. And so two other things that we can mention about the meaning is that, number one, we are called to really make a place for him, to prepare a place so that when he comes into the world this Christmas, he will be welcome. We know that he wasn't so welcome when he came in the first time.
When you say make a place, do you mean make a place in your heart?
Make a place in our heart, make a place in our communities. Be aware that we are not at the center, that he is at the center, and that God is working through him. And I think that another element which is very, very important at Christmas, and particularly in this world which looks so gloomy and which is so unwelcoming, we are called to remember that he's knocking at the door and he wants to come in. And so he comes in, not alone, but with all those that he's come for. And those are, of course, the poorest of the poor. And so the Holy Father, the Pope, has stressed right through his pontificate and the popes before him that this is also a time of heightened awareness of all those that need hospitality, the poor, the homeless, the refugees, the migrants.
Is that the connection between the vulnerable circumstances of his birth and this heightened sensitivity to the poor and the needy on Christmas?
Absolutely. I mean, Jesus came into the world. I wouldn't say that he was the poorest of the poor. He was born into a medium family, an ordinary family. His father had a job, his mother looked after him. It was a kind of ordinary family, but of course living in a very precarious situation when he was born, because as it's described in the Gospel, they were sent off to the town that his father had originally come from, and they had no home there. So knocking on door after door, and this is inevitably a part of how we present Christmas to the children. They knocked and nobody would allow them in. And so finally they were given a place with the animals. And it's there, between the ox and the donkey, according to the traditional image of Christmas, that Mary brings Jesus into the world and nowhere to lay him but that manger. Of course, we immediately make a connection, which is very important for us, that you don't generally put babies into a manger. A manger is where the animals eat, but he has come into the world to be our food, to be our spiritual food, but he will also say later when he's grown up, I am the bread of life. He is the light of the world, the bread of life, and we acclaim him and welcome him with a lot of joy. Christmas, of course, that is the big challenge. Looking around the world, not finding many reasons to be joyful, we are called to celebrate when Jesus is born.
And of course, that story plays out in Bethlehem. Thousands of pilgrims, tens of thousands, will flock to the Church of the Nativity. Let's talk about that spot.
Well, let's say that from your mouth to God's ears, we really hope that there will be thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of pilgrims. In the present situation, we really fear that many have cancelled and will not come. But of course, Bethlehem is very important. Bethlehem is not Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the center of our faith. It's in Jerusalem that this baby will grow up, will be crucified, and will be raised. So all eyes are focused on Jerusalem, but Bethlehem is an integral part of the story. And of course, it's interesting to look back and see that Bethlehem has played an important role all through what we call the history of salvation. Bethlehem is the town of David. David came from Bethlehem, and Jesus, in the first verse of the Gospel, is called Son of David, meaning a descendant of the royal house of David. But of course, Bethlehem is a very important place, not only because of its integral role in the history of the people of Israel, but also the story of Ruth, who brings in all of the Gentiles into the story. Ruth the Moabite, who recognizes the God of Israel. And so Bethlehem is, in a very real sense, a place of birth of Jesus, the Messiah, of David, but also of what we call church, which is this unity of Jew and Gentile together.
Thank you so much, Father David Neuhouse, for joining us. We're going to take a quick break now, but stay with us. We have so much coming up for you on this special Christmas program. We're coming to you from Jerusalem, from the Notre Dame Center. Stay with us.